Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me, and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds, where I like to collect together all the different things that I've picked up over the past week and present it to you. And I get it from different places like my local record store, but also online retail like Amazon, eBay, and more. And for this particular episode, I've even got some stuff from you guys out there that's grouped in with all of this. We got a cassette, a shirt, some CDs, a book, so a little bit of everything. We should have a lot of fun running through all of this, and we'll get into it in just a bit. But before we start, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things do help support my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, if you turn on notifications, hey, you'll never miss an episode and stay up to date on really cool things just like this with new music finds, or hopefully through the stuff that I show you guys, you get turned on to some cool new stuff. That's the whole point of this anyway. All right, so big release out this past week, November 1st, Friday. I love getting new music on Fridays to kick off the weekend. I mean, new release day when it was Tuesday was cool, but I think Friday is even better. And for this one here, we had a brand new Cure album, Songs of a Lost World. I have done a full review of this thing, and if you saw that, then you already know my take on it. But we waited 16 years for this album. The last album, 413 Dream, came out in 2008, and this one here only having 8 songs on it, so meaning we basically waited 2 years per song to get 8 songs at 49 minutes. And unfortunately, this album has not bowled me over. I was not overly impressed by it. Doesn't mean I didn't like it, but I was disappointed in it. And yes, you know, it's entirely possible that with 16 years of hype and excitement, at least in my mind, building for it, that it can be too much sometimes when you go in with a first listen. But I waited a full week, gave it multiple listens, at least 10, before I decided to do the review. And that's just how it stacked up for me. But as I said, it's not a bad album. It's not that I don't like it. It just didn't bowl me over as anything special. Nothing really stuck with me. If you want to see my full take and full breakdown on each of the songs and all that sort of stuff, I will leave a link in the description. You can go check that out and get a full take for this. But either way, I mean, I'm still glad to get new Cure music. Robert Smith, I don't think they make bad albums. They're one of those bands that just anything they've put out, I've really enjoyed. And so that leads into the next thing here. And as I mentioned, that sometimes you guys send me things or I run into you and you've given me stuff. And I really lucked out this last time. If you watch the Sound Exchange session videos with Anthony Coviello from Sound Exchange, then you guys saw that we held up shirts at the end of one of our recent videos. And if you can read what this says here, don't be a, and that's Richard Nixon, who went by Dick, so don't be a dick. Joey and Allison made those shirts for Anthony and I. And I don't know that I showed that to you guys in the follow-up video for the new music finds. If I did, great, you already saw it, but you're seeing that here. The reason I'm showing you that is I thought that was so cool that they did that. Anthony and I, it's kind of become our catchphrase and our thing that we say in it, and we say it a little tongue-in-cheek, but we also mean it totally sincerely in that, you know, live and let live. Let people like what they like. There's no reason to be a dick about it and shove your taste down someone's throat or to crap all over whatever it is that makes that person happy. And so for that saying or phrase or idea to become something that other people are picking up on and in agreement with, I think is kind of a cool thing. Now, I've gotten to know both Joey and Allison a number of times from having come into Sound Exchange, and we got discussing the fact of our mutual excitement and interest in the new upcoming Cure. And Joey mentioned to me that he had the Lost Wishes cassette that was given away. I think you had to mail order it at the time of release for Cure Wish from 1992, which happens to be my favorite album. And I said, sort of longingly, oh, I'd love to get my hands on one of those. I've just never come across it. What does he say? I'll give you one. I've got 4 of them. And I thought that was a really cool thing. I didn't want anything in exchange. Just said, next time I see you, I'll bring it. And he brought this in. So super excited to get that, especially for the fact that there was a new Cure album dropping. So then I get this as part of it, making it a super duper Cure week for me, but also just how nice that is of those two people sharing, music and, making Anthony and I these killer shirts to have, which Anthony and I'll have to coordinate it and wear it in one of our videos because we probably say it about 5 times in each video, and now it's great to have a shirt on it as well. In fact, Joey and Allison should start selling those shirts and let you guys go and capitalize off of it, or get the enjoyment, and they should capitalize off of it. But so getting this, and it's funny because it comes back to something that Joey, having seen this in my video, which is usually up on the wall behind me there, and he asked me about this, thought it was cool that I had this, and didn't think that, next to Slayer and Great White, and you can see some Def Leppard over here and stuff like that, that he would see The Cure. And so if you don't know what this is a little clamshell style box set that came with the first single from the album High, and then you were supposed to collect the other single, so Friday I'm in Love. And I've never picked up Letter to Elise, which would have made the third one and go in here. So I had these two, and I think following this conversation with you guys, I will go do it. And so there is a third spot for another CD. I think they were supposed to be 4. Maybe there's a part 1, part 2, but never got filled. And that Letter to Elise, I think, was like a European only single or something. It wasn't a US release. It was very hard to come by. So this card came with it with lyrics to the 2 bonus tracks that were on High. I went ahead and put in it the flyer from the Cure show where I was from Friday, June 5th, 8 p.m. This was the Wish Tour in 1992. I put that in here, and I put a button that I had, just trying to make a little kind of box set, right? So I've always had this. I've enjoyed it for what it is, but now I get to put my Cure Lost Wishes in here, which were 4 songs that didn't make the album. So that fits perfectly in here. I get to complete that. I'm very excited about it. For those of you that want to check out those 4 songs and don't want to track down the cassette, that's okay. The 30th anniversary edition, which was a 3 CD edition, the 3rd disc in here, the first 4 tracks, is the Lost Wishes. So it is available on CD. You can go grab that and enjoy that just like I am now, along with the brand new Cure album. All right, let's move into some other non-Cure stuff for you non-Cure fans. I know not everyone is into the goth rock thing. This is one that came out, I believe it was last week, could have been the week before, but the brand new Kings of Mercia, Battle Scars, 2nd album from them. I previously brought them to your attention when I first found out about this, but tracked down the debut album and fell in love with this. This is the debut. This is the brand new one here. They're a bit of a super group in that Jim Mathos is on guitar from Fate's Warning. They also have Joey Vera from Fate's Warning, who of course plays with Armored Saint. But then we have Steve Overland on vocals, and he comes from FM. And I have to say, I am not the biggest fan of Steve Overland, although I like some of the other projects that he has done. In fact, I'm not the biggest FM fan, but I actually do like Steve Overland's vocals. And so I was a little sort of, it was questionable in my mind that the two were pairing up. But when I found out about them, I went ahead and checked them out. I don't know how they flew under the radar for me on the first album, but I fell in love with this. And I have to say that the 2nd album is just as good. So if that sounded, not entirely sure about it, I would say check out this band, because if you're a fan of Jim Mathos, this is more rock sounding than his progressive metal leaning. But Steve Overland has just beautiful kind of soulful southern sounding voice to lay over it that just absolutely works perfectly. So got that. I'll probably end up doing a 1-minute review on this to get it out there for you guys. So you'll see me, promote it again at some point. All right, I did a little post uh, on through YouTube. You guys hopefully saw it about the new Kiko Loureiro solo album, Mind Theory, and or Theory of Mind. I'm not exactly sure, but it's the brand new one, and I really like it. I've been streaming it. It's so good, but you can't buy it physically, or at least not like through the stores or anything. And I'd headed over to his website and tried to order it. It was $25, but I thought, hey, okay, I will shell out and support the artist. You know, I'm used to about a $15 CD, not a $25 CD, but I assumed maybe that included shipping. And I went to go place the order, and $38 was added on to the $25 for a total of $63 for the brand new album. One single CD album and a jewel case. So boggled my mind. Obviously, I did not get it. What I ended up getting was Open Source, the album right before this one. And I think I ended up spending $25 to get this, but I spent $20 for a copy of it and then $4 or $5 for shipping. I did it through Amazon Marketplace, and I'm in love with this. Some amazing shred style guitar work that's not quite as heavy as Megadeth, a little more melodic than that, and I just fell in love with his work, and I wish that he had played like that with Megadeth, although I understand Megadeth is a different animal. But I really want the new album on physical CD in my hands because I think it's even better than this one. But right now, his stuff is so hard to come by, and I guess that's because, and I could be wrong, forgive me if I get his location wrong, but he's from, I want to say South America, maybe down in Brazil, Argentina, something of that nature. So I understand he is not local, he is not from the US. Shipping from abroad is much more expensive. But I've gotten CDs from Japan with only $7 shipping, and it actually doesn't take that long to get to me. So I'm not sure where the $38 shipping cost is coming from on it. And I hope eventually I'll find one on Amazon or eBay or something. But right now, Kiko Loureiro, this album called Open Source is really good. If you've never checked out his solo work, but you like instrumental lead guitar stuff, I highly recommend it. And I'm going to try and track down all his stuff now. And unfortunately, now he's out of Megadeth, where I really wasn't excited about him being there. When he was gone, I was kind of glad because I hope it makes a change for the direction of Megadeth's sound. I have not really liked the last two albums, and I know a lot of you guys did. That's cool, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. I've preferred the other albums that Dave Mustaine has done and the other styles that he has done, as opposed to that more heavy, straight ahead, sort of modern metal sounding stuff. Anyway, moving on again. Last week was Doug Pinnick, and I showed you this thingamajigger. And this is an absolutely fantastic album. It made me just fall in love all over again with his sound and King's X. And I pulled out all my King's X albums, and I was really digging and enjoying that. And for kicks, I just went on eBay, and sometimes I do this. I type in the name of the band plus promo CD. What I'm looking for is a rare, not sold in stores, but an official release of something. And I found this. King's X Building Blocks. So as you can see, promotional, license for promotion only, sale is prohibited. Flip it over. It's an official Atlantic Records release. It is essentially a greatest hits covering a selections of their first 5 albums. And it was done to release for Dogman. And they put it out, probably went to radio stations, but also people reviewing the album. And there you go. It shows the 5 albums and stuff and the tracks, and it tells you where they come from. And I have to say that the selections on this disc here are far superior to what eventually came out as, I don't know if they called it the best of or if they called it greatest hits, but the official, so to speak, greatest hits of King's X that would ultimately come out one album later after Ear Candy, I really did not enjoy because it basically does the 2 singles. It's the heavier track and then the ballad track, and the heavy track and the ballad track. And I never really cared for the ballad or the slower style song that King's X did. Well, This here rocks it up and puts on some killer stuff. Plus, I always felt Dogman was an underrated album, and we get 4 tracks from that on here. And just having that in and of itself, very cool. But they also have an acoustic version of Shot of Love on here, which is unreleased. So there is something actually unreleased and cool to get about this, but it's a full-on CD, as you saw, with, you know, not a booklet, but it opens up. It's not just a white piece of paper on the inside, and it's a silver pressed CD. So it's a real thing. I love tracking these down. This is one of my absolute favorite things to do when I can find stuff like that. I just found an Ozzy Osbourne Live and Loud sampler, which the sampler has 12 tracks. So it basically takes the 2 CD live album and makes a single disc edition, but it still puts the newly recorded version of Changes on there. Usually they leave that stuff off because they want you to have to go out and buy the 2-disc version of this thing. And if you've listened to me talk before, then you know I'm not a big fan of live albums, but when I do like live albums, they're the single disc edition. So now I can finally get a single disc edition of that great live album, which I already did like, and it will still have Changes at the end of it. So you'll see that hopefully next week. It might not come in time, and then you'll see it the following week, but that's just one of the other things that I've hunted down on eBay recently, and I got a few more things coming my way from eBay, but I always love tracking that stuff down. All right, a lot of guys asked if I was going to get this, and I initially didn't think that I would until I started bringing you multiple stories about it, and then it changed my mind to go get it. Alex Van Halen biography called Brothers. So I have to say, I'm actually really surprised by how thin the book is. I kind of thought this was going to be double this. This right now has in it, turn to the last page, 231 pages. Okay, it looks very thin for 231 pages, but I would have expected double that. So I guess I was expecting about a 450 page book, especially when we're talking about their whole life together. I haven't really sat down to read I haven't sat down to read any of it, to be honest with you. I just know excerpts and things, but I'm looking to see, I don't even see a freaking table of contents. No, there's no table of contents in this thing. Oh, that's very strange. So you don't even know what the chapters are. Let me just double check this. No, it goes right from the overture into chapter 1. So I was going to say, because I don't know, I was going to look, I love to go chapter by chapter where it's like it titles something, and if it was on a particular album or event that happened, I would like to read just about that. I almost never read the biographies in order. But either way, I've picked this up and I will go through it. Some of the cool stories that had come out on it that changed my mind was that he's planning on releasing unreleased Eddie Van Halen music, that he plans to still make new music, that he is in no way retired. The holdout on the tribute tour was David Lee Roth, and that the reason he didn't do it with anyone else is that he feels that Van Halen is the 4 original guys, and he kind of, separates out. I know he's got a beef still with Sammy and Michael Anthony, and who knows if he's got one going on with Gary Sharon or not, but he basically belittles all of that and focuses only on David Lee Roth era of the band itself. So I guess when David Lee Roth didn't want to do it, Alex decided not to go out and do anything because he didn't want to do it, I guess, with other Van Halen members, minus David Lee Roth. There's probably more on that in here, and I'll get into that. And if the book turns out to be really good, I'll even do a full review of that for you guys on here. But yeah, right now I did pick this up, so you guys are probably devouring it at the same time. I'm a bit of a slow reader, and I basically only do it when I'm really in the mood for it. So I save it for pulling out while listening to Van Halen and things like that. So I'll get around to it. I'll have it. But at least right now, man, those are the things that I picked up here. I got some CDs, some new music from a little bit of everywhere. That cool cassette, again, shout out to Joey and Allison. Thank you so much for that. And again, thank you guys for the shirt, man. I just have to say, I'm sort of blown away by that, that someone went and made Anthony and I shirts. I think that's a very, very cool thing. All right, everyone. So have a good one. Take care. Hope you found something great in here that you can go and find yourself and or turned you on to something. But if not, maybe it reminded you of something cool in your collection, like the fantastic Cure album, Wish. All right, everyone. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.